Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nakat's Bookish Cafe. Today I am here to go through my July and August reading plans. Alright guys, so I switched up my wording a little bit there and said reading plans instead of TBR because, as I mentioned, I will be going through July as well as August. And while I do have a semi-set or hopeful TBR for July, I have not set one for the month of August because it is still far enough in the future where I have no idea what I will be in the mood for. However, I will be out of the country from July 11th through July 25th, so I will not have time to film, edit, and post an August TBR, and I figured that this was the perfect opportunity for me to do something I've been wanting to do for a little while. So we'll start off by talking about my plans for August because that won't take as long, and then we'll go through some of the books that I'm hoping to get to in July, and then we will go ahead and end by selecting 2 books from my challenge cup since we need one for July as well as for August. So this is the last video I think you'll be seeing during Pride Month, so I had to wear my asexual shirt that I bought this month. It says sex. No thanks. I will take some garlic bread. So for those who don't know, I am an asexual, and so I am repping the asexuals and all the garlic bread lovers out there as well. So very happy with this shirt and very excited to have it making its first appearance in this TBR video. So let's go ahead and talk about August. Very exciting, at least I hope you think so. I am looking to you guys to help me pick what I read throughout the month of August. So essentially, this will kind of allow me to kind of mood read throughout the month, which, considering I am still slumping, which fingers crossed I won't be slumping, 2 months from now in August, but you never know. It will be very helpful for me to kind of pick up whatever I want. However, I will be posting polls on my community tab every time I am to start a new book, and essentially I would be asking you guys to choose between 2 or 3 books, and whichever one gets the most ratings is the one that I will read next. So I will usually try to give you guys about 24 to 48 hours to select and to vote. So I'll probably post something when I'm getting close to finishing my current read, and then you guys can vote for whatever book you want me to pick up next. To start off with, probably a few days before August starts, I will go ahead and post the first polls. I will let you know what the books are. I will let you know if this would be an audiobook or a physical book that I will be reading. So the only thing I really say is that I will probably be trying to pick books that will help me towards my annual goals. But other than that, I really can't tell you what I will be in the mood for. So just keep an eye out for those. I will, of course, throw out a reminder probably a day or 2 before I post that original poll. But I hope that you guys are excited and that you guys pick some really fun books for me to read. All right, so those are the August plans. Let's go ahead and get into the month of July. July is a little bit of a weird month because I will be gone from the 11th to the 25th, as I mentioned, and I will actually be getting KU because I will be taking only my Kindle on this trip. We are going to Italy and suitcase space is very limited, so I will just bring my Kindle and I will be reading KU books, but I also have the books on my Kindle. So I do have 6 books here that I am hoping to get to, but as I mentioned, I am still in a reading slump, so So if I'm not feeling those books, maybe I'll pick up something that's on my Kindle, or maybe I'll pick up something else that is on KU. But these are the 6 books that while I was going through my KU category on Goodreads kind of stood out to me the most. So fingers crossed I get to them, but without further ado, here is the first option. Here we have The Last Courtesan of Olympus. This is by Amanda Moyweisen, and this is I'm not really sure if it's leaning more short story wise. I mean, we are following the same character, but essentially he has been brought up to Olympus and has been gifted to 6 different gods up there, and essentially he needs to be with each of them, and then at the end I think he needs to choose which one he wants to permanently be with. So this will be a very interesting read. I know I'm not like going to Greece or anything, but I figured since I was closer to that area it would be a good time to read a book like this. And obviously it is queer, it is a male courtesan that seems to be interacting with just male gods. So fingers crossed I enjoy it. It sounds like it'll be a fun time. The next one is a book that I think will just be a lot of fun, and that is actually called Bro Beast. This is written by L.C. Davis. I believe that this might be a book where they partnered with Joel Abernathy, who is an author that I have read and enjoyed. This is obviously kind of like a werewolf kind of vibe. I believe we have a man who accidentally finds himself in these stories that his brother really enjoys reading and is kind of falling for the main character of that book. So sounds really interesting. Sounds like it'll be a fun yet smutty time. Talking about Joel Abernathy, I wanted to go ahead and check out one of their other books, and I decided the next book I wanted to read by them was called Exhale. This sounds like a really interesting concept to me. Essentially, we are following this man who was married and had a child with this woman who actually had a other mate, and this woman ends up getting killed, and obviously he and this mate were very devastated, and our character has just kind of been focusing on raising their daughter. However, one day his daughter actually gets kidnapped by the people who had killed his wife, and so he and this other mate of his wife, or deceased wife, end up working together to try and find her, and I believe they start to get closer while they do that. And I think it's just a really interesting concept to have someone falling for the mate of your deceased spouse. So I will be intrigued. I think it'll definitely be a darker story, but I know I like Joel Abernathy's writing, so fingers crossed that it is a dark but good time. Another slightly darker story, we have Riker, and that is by Ann Slater. This is the second book to Phoenix, which I read earlier this year. That was a male romance. This is, I believe, a trilogy. We are following a man who is a reporter. He is also the son of their town's sheriff, and he has this darker side to him, this darker presence inside of him that he tries very hard to repress. However, over the last 3 years, he has been with 3 different men who have satiated that darkness inside him, and he has run every time because it was just getting a little bit too real. However, at the beginning of the first book, he has 3 interviews in one day, and those 3 interviews were obviously with those 3 men. To complicate things further, there are 3 dangerous people in their town. there is a serial killer, there is a cannibal, and then there is a leader of a crime organization. And they all seem to know each other and are connected in some way. And I'm sure you can guess who those three people are. The first book, I had a really good time with it. It was a really interesting concept. It spent a lot of time kind of letting us get to know the characters, rebuilding, rekindling their relationships. We got to know a little bit more about our main characters. I guess you would consider it a disability. It is essentially inspired by dissociative identity disorder. It is not exactly that. The author mentions that it's kind of a fictionalized adjacent disorder to that. We get to learn a little bit more about that and his other personalities, and the ending of that book just like had my jaw on the floor. So I definitely knew that the next time I got KU, I had to pick up the next book, and that is what I will be doing. Up next, we have a book where, you know, I keep putting it off because it is a pretty long book. It's definitely over 500 pages. I can't remember if it's also over 600, but I am very intrigued by that, and it is called The Blood We Spill. It is written by Joe Havens, and it is a sapphic story. It is also sci-fi based. Essentially, we are following a woman who is a assassin of the, I don't know if they would be considered the royal family, but they are a very powerful family, and she's living a pretty good life actually. She just kind of goes out, kills the people that she needs to kill, but in her free time she kind of has everything she wants and needs, and that includes all the beautiful women she can get her hands on. However, one day she kind of messes up an assassination, and there is a witness, and this witness is a very beautiful woman that she finds herself getting more and more drawn to. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of political drama. It also sounds like it's going to be a very sexy time. So it is a book that's been on my radar for a long time. Honestly, the only reason I haven't picked it up is because of the length, but I'm putting it on this TBR to see if it kind of pushes me to finally pick it up. And hopefully I enjoyed as much as I'm thinking I will. And the final book that I'm hoping to get to that is a potential for July is gonna be The Whims of God by Mel Bright. This apparently is supposed to be kind of like Howl's Moving Castle, but it's sci-fi. It seems that we are following this character that has had a pretty rough life, and I think he is rescued during a dangerous situation by a group of people who are living on a machine he's never really seen before. It seems to be like some giant mechanical beetle, and it is run by a very sassy kind of AI. And there is also a man on that who is known as like the devil of the desert or something along those lines, some sort of cool, dangerous name. And our character decides that he wants to stay here. He feels safe for the first time, and also his connection to this, okay, I just double checked, he's called the Devil of the Wastes. However, our character ends up finding himself getting more and more drawn to this being because it says it's a monster romance. I'm not really sure if he's human. So it sounds exciting. I do like a more post-apocalyptic setting in a lot of my books, as well as monster romances and male-male romances. So this seems to have a lot of things that are going to work for me. All right, guys. So those are the KU books that I'm hoping to get to. Let's go ahead and take a look at my challenge books. I am a couple months behind, so let's just put him aside for just like a moment. So I am actually hoping in those first 11 days to go ahead and read The Throne of the Five Winds by S.C. Emmett. This, I believe, I pulled in May. It is over 600 pages. Yes, almost 650 pages. So yes, I am giving myself I think it would actually only be 10 days because I'm leaving on the 11th. I'm giving myself 10 days to work on like just this book. but considering how slow I'm reading, I think I will need every single day. This is a fantasy story. We seem to be following different women. The two women that seem to be the main characters are two princesses. I believe one is in an arranged marriage in this kingdom, and the other one is actually kind of being held as a prisoner, where essentially if her people disobey this other kingdom, she will be killed. And at the beginning of the story, everything kind of starts to get a little chaotic when the king becomes sick and his 5 sons start to fight for the throne, and these women are kind of stuck in the middle of it. Like, they gotta put up with all these men's BS. I've never really heard anyone talk about this book. I think it was Jess on YouTube who introduced it to me, and they had a really good time with this story. So I'm hoping that I have a good time with it as well. It is definitely higher fantasy than what I'm usually picking up, but I am going into it optimistic, and the fact that we seem to be following a lot of strong female characters has me excited to see what happens. The book that I pulled in July was a nonfiction, which was called Unwell Women. I will not be getting to this in the month of July. I will probably make it my nonfiction book in the month of August. We'll see. I might let you guys choose what my nonfiction book is, but I may need to read this one because it's a challenge book. We'll kind of see how I'm feeling, but that is another book that I do need to try to get to by the end of the year if I want to succeed at my challenge. All right, so I think we only have 5 because we have it for July, August, September, October, and November, because we don't have it for December. So as always, what do I love to say? I don't know what books are in here anymore, so I don't even know what I could potentially pull. But let's go with this one for the first. I'm honestly just like kind of nervous. Oh, what does that say? I have no idea. What's that? Under the Udala Tree by Chanello Occaparanta. I may have butchered that, but I do actually think I got this book as a gift. Let me like not have my head like I'm like, hello, I'm just a talking mouth. Let me go ahead and grab it real quick because I do believe I own it. All right, this is exciting. So I actually got this gifted to me for Christmas from my parents. And this, I believe, is a sapphic story. We are following women in Nigeria. Yes, Republic of Nigeria. And they meet each other and they kind of fall for each other. However, I believe they are caught and they figure out real quick that there are consequences for having these feelings towards the same sex. It says it's inspired by Nigeria's folk tales and its war. It shows us in graceful and precise prose how the struggles and divisions of a nation are inscribed on the souls of its citizens. Powerful and heartbreaking, Under the Udala Tree is a deeply moving contemporary on identity, prejudice, and forbidden love. So I do believe this takes place partially during a civil war that was taking place during this country. I think it deals a lot with different ideologies kind of battling each other within a single country and how that can negatively impact its citizens. So I am very excited to check this out. I'm very happy that I pulled it. It also has a Lamba Literary Award, which I think is a pretty big deal, but I'm not really sure because I don't really pay attention to awards. But that is going to be the first Challenge Cup pick. All right, so this pick is technically for August. So that first book wasn't too long. I'm trying to think if any of the books on here are like super duper long. I know there's one more that I'm really nervous for. I mean, I have to get to it eventually, but maybe not this time. Is that upside down? Oh, a reread. Oh my God. Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Okay. Oh, all right. So in case you're new to my channel, when it comes to my challenge cup, each book is under a category. I mean, you saw Under the Udala Tree was by a Black author. This one is a reread. I had books by queer authors, Indigenous authors, things like that, books that were translated, classics, over 500 pages, whatnot. So I decided to put a reread on here because I suck at rereading. I never prioritize rereads. I'm trying to think, have I reread any of the books that I was planning on rereading this year? Maybe not. I may have not read a single reread this year. Not that I can remember, but who knows. So Scythe is a series that I really enjoyed a few years ago. It is a young adult sci-fi. It is a dystopian story. We are following two main characters, Citra and Rowan, and both of them are living in a society where death does not happen naturally anymore. Essentially, even if you get killed, even if you splat off of a building, you can be regenerated and you just kind of go on living your own life. The only way to truly die is to be gleaned by a scythe, and this is a group of people who go around killing people, and it is essentially a form of population control, because obviously if no one ever dies but they still continue to have children, there has to be a way to kind of reduce the population numbers. And each scythe kind of does this in a different way. They are supposed to be very fair. They're not just supposed to kill certain people. I think like at one point a scythe got called out where they're like, hey, we noticed that you seem to only be killing people you find unattractive. Like, you can't just be killing ugly people. You gotta be a little bit more indiscriminate in your killing. And one day our two characters get approached by a scythe and he asks them to be his apprentice, and they're like, no, we don't want to do that, not even a little bit. And he's like, good, that's the first requirement. No one in this job should want to go around killing people, because this this is not about being a serial killer. This is like a job. And so unfortunately, because they don't want to do it, they get brought in to become apprentices. Now, usually a scythe only takes one apprentice, and when they find out that this scythe has taken two, the order has told him that whichever scythe he does not choose will get killed. So whoever does get chosen, the first person they will glean will actually be the other person. So the stakes are very high, and it does very much seem like a utopian society in the beginning, but as we learn more about the society, as usual, and specifically the Scythe organization, things get complicated. So I have been wanting to reread this for a long time. I remember I really enjoyed book one. I didn't love book two. I feel like a lot of people like book two the most and didn't like book three. I gave book three 5 stars, and the year that I read it, it was one of my top books of the year. So I think my opinion on which books I like the best are a little bit different. I'll be interested to see what I think this time around. But honestly, the main reason I want to reread this is because the author came out with Gleanings, I believe it's called. It's on my shelf. There it is. Yeah, Gleanings, which is a collection of short stories that is set throughout the series. And it's been so long since I've read this where I'm like, if I picked up those short stories, I would have no idea who the characters are, what events they're talking about. So I'm going to start my reread process of this so that I can read those short stories. And also just because this was a great read. And nowadays, I feel like we're all feeling dystopian. Like, we're feeling it in our soul when we read it. Forgot that this was on the list, though I do know I've been meaning to reread it, and I guess this is giving me the push that I need to actually do it. All right, well, thank you to my challenge cup for actually picking books that are on my shelf, because the majority of the books in that cup I do not own, so that kind of makes things a little bit easier for me. I am excited for all of the books that I have pulled. Those books may make an appearance in one of my August polls, because obviously I will need to try to get to some of them. So again, in the month of August, make sure you're keeping an eye out for those polls so that you can help me decide which books I am reading. And here are the books that I went ahead and talked about reading for sure. On the top half, you will go ahead and see all the books that I currently have out of my challenge cup. 4 months. 4 months of challenge books that I need to go ahead and get to. And then on the bottom are my KU hopefuls. I would love to know what you guys are hoping to read in the month of July. And if you happen to already have plans for August, let me know about those as well. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!